All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the, what is it, May 21st edition of the MakerDAO Community Call. We do this community call every week on Tuesday, and we do a bunch of fun stuff in here. We go over the stuff that's been going on in the MakerDAO universe for the last week, and we also like to have guests on. And so whenever there's a guest, they are the first part of the call, and then we go over the recap of the week towards the second part of the call. So this week we have one of our very own team members, Petru Catana, on the line, and he's going to be going over how to use the multi-collateral Dai command line interface to interact with the Kovan deployment of MakerDAO.
Hello.
And so, yeah, there's Petru. Feel free to further introduce yourself, man.
Yeah, so I'm Petru. I joined the Maker team last year in November, and I'm an integrations engineer. So I'm helping out different partners with different tools that we have to integrate Dai and Maker and our CDP portal. And yeah, today I'll be helping you or show you how to play with multi-collateral Dai through our CLI. And yeah, that's it.
So are you going to be going through the steps in like I know we have a developer guide that I just posted in the chat. Are you going to be going through those steps, or how are you going to run us through it?
Yeah, I'm gonna go through those steps and just step by step show you how it's done. If you never interacted with the CLI, I guess that's a good opportunity because yeah, it's not as scary as you might think.
So what kind of stuff do we need downloaded before doing anything?
So if you're on Linux or Mac, just open your terminal and that's it. And if you're Windows, I use Windows subsystem, Linux subsystem. And I'll go through the steps. I use personally the Windows subsystem for Linux. And I'll go through the steps to show you how things can be done. So let me know when I can start.
Yeah, go for it, man.
All right, cool. Let me share my screen. Okay, so you should see my screen now.
Yep, we see
So
it.
first of all, just we go to the developer guide repo on GitHub. So if you want to follow along, let me know, and I'll wait for you guys to jump on as well. So yeah, on the right, this is my Linux terminal on Windows.
Nice. So do you have to? Is there a link where one can download this Linux terminal, or you can just Google it and it's like?
Oh yeah,
fairly popular.
if you haven't installed it, you have to go to the Microsoft Store. So just over, and here just write Ubuntu 1804. There you go. Install it.
Here. I think I found it also. I'm gonna post the link in chat.
They help you out. Yeah, I mean, if it's gonna take a bit more if you install this, more time.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I'm not gonna follow you like step by step. I'm just gonna watch you do it. But I just wanted to present it to people on the call in case they're wondering.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're on Windows, now you have this ability to use subsystem of Linux Windows machine, and basically that allows you to interact with tools easier, just like or you are on a Mac or Linux, right, natively. So finally, Windows is catching up. So on the guide itself, we're going to use some of the tools built in-house by Maker Foundation, especially from DAP And first of all, this guide now it's compatible with the latest release of our MCD on Kovan, which is 0.26 release. You can find more about all the releases we have on Kovan through this link here. So it's just changelog.makerdao.com right here. So as you can see, almost every 2 weeks, we try to deploy a new version of our system. So the next release will be on Gurley network. So, okay, moving back to the guide. The first steps, of course, are you need to install the tools. So if you haven't installed that already, please do. So just follow these links along. This call right away will make will install all the DApp tools necessary to use this tutorial, and then later on use this one to install the MCD-CLI that we will go interact today with it. Right. I'm not going to do this because I already have it installed, but if you haven't, please do. So assuming you have already, the first step probably is to set up our MCD-CLI and Seth. Seth is another tool we use in-house to interact with the with Ethereum chain mostly and with the smart contracts. It's a Unix style CLI as well that allows us to interact very easily on the interface here. So for us to interact now with the contracts, of course, we need an Ethereum address stored on our machine to basically, interact with it. So we need to give the private keys to store them in a Keystore file and provide in variables these details, right? So if you haven't created a Keystore file before, the easiest way is to go to my Ether wallet or my crypto, right? And let's say you can create one from a private key. Okay, through my crypto app. Anyway.
So Petru, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
If I have a MetaMask wallet on Kovan that I already have like preloaded with some ETH and some stuff, am I able to? Is there a way to download the Keystore file from there?
Exactly. So for example, any account here, I have some Kovan ETH. Go to your account to MetaMask here, press details, and export private key. And the way you do it, you type your password, and then the private key will appear right away there, right?
Nice. Okay.
So that's the process I use to actually set up my MCD-CLI, right? So I have my private key here. I'm not going to do it, but anyway, you're just going to get it and copy it, basically. When you have the private key, use my Ether wallet or my crypto. I'm going to use my crypto, for example, here. You can see my screen, right?
Yeah, I could see it.
Perfect. So I just go here, paste my private key, right? And when that happens, I can go and just export my Keystore file to my desktop somewhere, right? So when I have the Keystore file somewhere in the desktop, I basically store it on a folder. Let's say call it accounts, right? So here I have the Keystore stored in this folder, and also I create a new file. Let's say I call it pass, where I store the password to this Keystore file, right? Which I created in my crypto, for example, right? So you need these two things basically to allow MCD-CLI interface and Seth to easily sign transactions for you when you make calls, right? So that's the first setup you need. So when you have this done, then we move back to the guide and start adding variables to our terminals so our CLIs can actually interact. So one of the first variables are exporting the variable called Seth chain, and we give the value to it Kovan because we need to define which network the interface is going to interact with, right?
So for the next release, it's going to be on the Gurley testnet,
correct.
right? So once that comes out and once like this whole guide is updated, all you have to do is enter equals Gurley, and that puts everything out. Okay.
So for example, the way you set up the variables is just copy paste this, export Seth chain equals Kovan, right, and paste it. So it should work out. Here we go. Press enter, and now the way you see if it's actually defined, you just call it the $, and then call the name of the variable, right? And here we go. It tells me Kovan, right? Ignore this part here. So great. So with that, I just need to add more extra variables. So of course, the first one is Seth chain, and the rest are f keystore, f password, f from, and MCD chain. Keystore basically is the direction to the path of the Keystore file I stored earlier, right? Password is the direction to the file where stores the password in text, right, of the Keystore file. And from is my Ethereum address, basically, that is on the Keystore file. And MCD chain is another variable for the MCD-CLI client to just make sure that it's connected to Coven as well. So yeah, first I'll just go quickly check my Ethereum address on the Keystore. So the way I do it, I just go to accounts. In this regard, there are many ways where you just go to your MetaMask and copy the address from there, where I do it from here, from my terminal. So I just read my Keystore file, which is like this, with the cat command. And my address is here, right? I copy it, clear it out. So now I set my variable of Keystore. And I add 0x because that one doesn't have my address. Here you go. Oh, wait, not Keystore, sorry.
That should be ETH from, right?
Exactly, sorry. Yeah. So Keystore, let me just quickly add that. So my accounts folder is stored in cat home. Wait, let me quickly just directory. Great. So export as Keystore home cat accounts. All right. So one is done. So now export password again home accounts, and then the file name as well, right? So the first variable stores the path towards the Keystore file, and the second variable stores actually the path to the file itself, right?
Yeah, got it.
And the next ones are just from. Here we go. X, and export MCD chain Coven again, right? Having that all worked out, check all good. Now we can have a test and see if everything works. And one of the tests is using Seth or MCD, both of them, doesn't matter. So let's say use Seth. We call the Seth client first, and then we call the balance function, and then of our account. Here we go. So it displays my balance in ETH. I guess it's in Way.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's a big value here. And that basically tells me that, okay, everything works. So I can move on now to actually to the guide again. So as you may know, in multi-collateral Dai, we'll add more collateral types than just ETH, right? And in our current version on the testnet, we abstracted these collateral types to different names. Let's say collateral 1, collateral 2, collateral 3, mainly because we're still deciding which collateral types we need to add to the system, right? So this way, basically, we mimic different collaterals, different tokens with different values, different supplies, and so on the Coven network, right? So I suppose none of you have any collateral types, right? So the next step is basically we need to go acquire these collateral types. And luckily, we have created a faucet that basically allows us to do that. So I'm going to skip the step of getting ETH because that's very easy. You should just go to these links and acquire some Coven ETH. And I'll go directly to calling actually our faucet contract, which is this, with a function called gulp, to basically give us some free collateral to our own wallet so we can actually interact with our MCD contracts, right? Again, I have done that already, but I'm going to show you how to do it. So again, we're going to need to add these addresses to our variables on the terminal here. So of course, the first step is just copy paste these variables here. So it becomes very easy to just copy paste, and I'll write down all the things. So then export faucet as well. Great. And then that's the most interesting thing here. So again, we use a Seth tool, we call what the send function to what? To the faucet address, which basically represents this address of the contract. And we call the function of this contract, which is gulp. And then the parameter is a token address. In this case, it's the collateral one address that we want to receive, right? So if I do this, let's see if it works for me. But I guess I'll receive a revert because I already have a token. So the contract only allows you to receive once, right, per address.
How much of collateral one do you get?
I think you get 50 collateral ones.
Got it.
Okay, collateral one included. Okay, interesting.
Nice.
So to check the balance, we can use both steps again, where we use Seth, which looks a bit more complicated call, where we use actually our MCD-CLI to see the balance of our collateral one, right? So let's use the MCD-CLI instead.
So right now you just pulled some collateral one into your ETH from address, right? Your ETH
Yeah,
address.
correct.
And so right now you're actually putting a command to to multi-collateral Dai CLI for the balance of collateral one in the ilk. So it already comes in an ilk. An ilk is a CDP, right? Or ilk is just a collateral.
Ilk is a type of collateral locked in an urn, right? So
right, an urn is the CDP.
terms already of our MCD, right?
Got it.
So gem is basically the type of collateral, and ilk is the collateral that can be actually locked into the contract, right?
Got it.
So of course, MCD type of ilk, what? Collateral 1A, right? Okay, gem, and then the balance of the gem of this, right? And then we say external because it's on my account, external account, right? It's not locked anywhere yet on the MCD system, right? That's why it said external.
So you're basically asking how much lockable collateral do I have on balance?
Correct.
Yeah.
Precisely. So let's press enter. Yeah, so MCD-CLI has very basic, easy, readable commands. Here we go. I have 99 tokens now. Yeah, I think it gives you 50 because I had 49 before.
Nice.
So it gives you 50 each time, right? So I have 99 tokens. I can basically play now with the MCD.
Is there a set Oracle price, or like what's the price for collateral one?
Yeah, there is. So one of the ways to actually see what's going on right away with the collateral, we just use again this command, but then we just press remove the external flag, and we have a more detailed list of parameters about the collateral. So again, it tells us that nothing is locked in the VAT system, nothing is actually locked, and then we have the external balance.
Nice. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, and then you can do MCD-ilks. Wait, I think it's just ilks. There you go. So these are all the type of collaterals we can add to the MCD on this test network, right? So we have collateral 1A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then different prices on ETH itself, right?
Nice. Okay.
Okay, let's clear this up a bit. So assuming we've got some collateral already, yeah, here we have another step. If you want to actually get Maker to interact with the governance, you just do the same thing as you did before with the call 1A and just paste the Maker address, which is this, and then call again the gulp function, basically. Where is it? Export.
So you have to set a new faucet equals address for the KMKR token, and then you have to basically do the
for KMKR, you just paste the KMKR address and use the same faucet address because it's the same faucet, right? And then here just call again faucet gulp address, and instead of call 1A, you do KMaker, whatever, maker token, right? Address.
Nice. Okay.
And you'll receive some maker tokens, right? So you can do that basically with all the 5 tokens we have on our contracts.
Got it.
So yeah. Now let me just do this. So now actually we can go through the CDP lifecycle. So again, The first step is basically joining, giving access to our tokens to the MCD system, right? And we do this by this command. So actually, I'm just going to copy paste because I have now 60 tokens on my balance. So it's just easy and faster. So press enter. And of course, fingers crossed.
So while that loads, what's the difference on the Gurley testnet in terms of like transaction times?
I think it'd probably be the same. But what I know about Gurley network is that they're gonna have now different clients running the same network, because Kova now only allows parity to run and not get. So Gurley now become interdependent, right? With different clients now, interoperable. Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
So what we see here basically is we are asked permission to allow our tokens to be withdrawn to the system, right? So of course we say yes, just fine like this. So you see MCD-CLI actually in the backend is using Seth, right? Because Seth, as you can see from here above, it requires more commands to basically do a very simple function, right? To just call a balance, let's say. So MCD-CLI abstracts all that complication and puts it into a more easy to understand, let's say, interface, right? So in the backend, in the end, MCD-CLI is Seth. So here we go. Transaction included in block, We have the transaction hash as well here. So of course you can just copy this and go to Etherscan and see how everything works, right? So for fun, let's do that.
So there's a question in the chat while you're doing that. Marston's asking when the next MCD update will be deployed, when the Gurley testnet is going to happen.
We can check that at changelog.makerdao.com.
Yeah. So the 31st. So basically in 10 days.
Yeah.
Or at least that's when it's scheduled.
Exactly. Yeah. So on this page, you guys can follow up and see all the updates we have, all the releases. And when you click on a release, let's say, we provide all the contract addresses to our MCD system, be it from the faucet itself, the address, here you go, the governance modules, the central modules, the auction modules, flap, flop, and flip.
Those are my favorite.
Yeah, I love them as well. The spot, pot, and collateral token addresses as well. So, we already allowed this all put together so you can actually start developing and preparing for the MCD release, right?
Nice. So, by the way, just a quick note. Inside of the active agenda doc, I'm putting in under the special guest all the links. So I put in the link for the developer guide. I put in the link for the subsystem for Linux installation for Windows, and also this changelog page that you showed us. And I'm going to continue adding throughout the demo.
Awesome. Thank you for your help. So here you go. Now we can see in this output that we've locked 60 tokens into the VAT system. VAT is basically our central module of our smart contracts. And then it tells us that we don't have any ink yet. That means we don't have any actually locked token collateral into the system. Now it's just inside, but not actually locked. And of course, it tells us the external balance of our remaining tokens, right, on our balance, on our address, pretty much.
So does that mean that there's, in theory, 60 of these collateral tokens in a CDP, but they're all unlockable because you have no debt? Or like, I'm confused. What does it mean that there's
exactly.
60
They're
tokens
unlockable. Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. As soon as we
they're already inside of an urn, right?
I'm not sure about that yet.
Okay. All right. That's what I was asking.
Okay. So moving on. So again, we did this. We just joined. We joined our 60 tokens into the VAT system, and now we actually gonna mint some Dai and lock our tokens into the system, right? And we do this by the function call called frob. Nothing where it comes from, because I don't know myself where this name comes from, frob. I should probably check it out with the guys. So yeah, let's say we lock 60 and withdraw, okay, 2 Dai. So in behind all this small function call with MCD-CLI, there's a lot of function calls on the smart contracts. We're calling 3-4 contracts at the same sequentially, of course, in the backend. And of course, you can see that by just calling the checking out the transaction on Etherscan. Okay, there's a bunch of stuff in here, as you can see. So now we see more details of what's going on. So we just locked our 60 tokens and got back to Dai. And finally, we have the earn. Here we go. Our earn ID is basically our Ethereum address that I follow, right? I have. Now we have 60 ink, 60 locked collateral in. We have drawn 2 Dai. It's called art in MakerDAO terms. We have outstanding debt, again, 2, right, that we owe to the system. So far, 0 accumulated fee, which is called wrap. It tells us the ratio, the collateralization ratio. And spot is basically the price of the token. So here you go. It's basically 7 cents a token, right?
Nice.
And
so really quickly, there's a question in the chat. Is there a reason why all those names are chosen? And I think Daniel
yes,
is asking about like fat, art, tab, gem, all of these like shorthand names.
yes, there's a big reason why these things are chosen. It's mostly for facilitating nomenclature within our MakerDAO system, right? Because we need let's say, scientific terms in a way to define certain aspects of our system, modules, components, to easily, first of all, understand and communicate with the others, and also in the code itself, right? Because when you read the code, after you understanding all these terms, it's very easy to understand what's going on, right? But if you just write a big variable name, let's say, instead of ilk, you write collateral type in the code, right? It becomes bulkier very fast, right? So you explaining all these terms, let's say, in the white paper, by using the ilk, earn, ink, art terms, it becomes a much beautiful way to express the intricacies of the system, right?
Yeah.
So it's mostly for this, to easy understanding how it goes. Of course, after you learn the terms, because when you don't know what's going on, it's a bit confusing as well.
Yeah, I also posted in the purple paper. In the original purple paper, there's a section on the reason for the jargon, and there's a couple of more cool reasons why we use it. So check that out if you guys are interested. Also, putting that in the agenda. All right, cool.
Right. So
I have a
now,
quick question. Is there a
yeah.
way to check the rate or the spot for various collateral tokens? Like, is there a particular command that you could put into the CLI just to like query the spot price?
Right. I don't know personally myself, but we should just quickly check in the MCD-CLI repo, right? And here we might see all the commands that we can have. So here we go. So what do we have here? Jump from I guess we can check the price by not directly, but by indirectly calling earn or the collateral type variable and seeing their information about it, right?
Got it. Yeah.
So ilk, here we go, collateral type parameters, right? So actually, let's see if actually this works. So ilk col1 a, let's call this and see. It's not wrong because I had to add more stuff to it. One way. will not balance. Yeah, the gem balance basically just prints out the balance of the token. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
nice. Okay, so that's good to know. All right, nice.
So now we've created our DAI, but it's still locked into the MCD contracts, right? It's not on our Ethereum address. So basically, to get it back, we just call this command MCD DAI exit and the value amount of the DAI that we've issued, right? So in our case, would be to.
So when you generate Dai through this process, it actually stays in the vat until you withdraw it.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Because I mean, the reason for this is our smart contracts are basically modularized, right? It's just a bunch of different
Right.
connected together, right? So when you call a function to actually mint DAI, it's just minted, but not actually given to your address right away, right? So we have to follow these steps, especially in the MCD-CLI, to actually get it back.
That's
But for the
interesting.
MCD portal, you just probably will have to sign 2 transactions on MetaMask, or in the end 1, and then you basically have it right away, just like on the
Yeah,
CDP.
it's abstracted away in the end, right?
Correct. Because how that is abstracted, we use a proxy contract that basically gets and puts all these function calls into one function call, and then everything is done for you, right?
Right. And so like when you create Dai in the vat through your CDP, through your earn, you are basically creating 2 tokens. You're creating a Dai token and you're creating a SYN token, right? And SYN is just like the negative balance of Dai internal to the vat, since vat is like the ultimate central like accounting system. Is that right?
I cannot tell if it's right or wrong. I think this
Okay.
is right CDP for SCD, single collateral Dai. That's what we
Yeah.
have now.
Okay.
But CDP, I'm not sure.
Okay. I'll do some reading.
But here you go. Now we finally have on our external balance 2 Dai. Here you go. So it tells us that in VAT is 0 locked, right? Dai. And then in external account, which is our Ethereum address, we have 2 Dai. So in 3 steps, you have your multi-collateral Dai on your Ethereum address, right? So in case MCD portal is out, somebody tries to shut it down, censor it or something, you can easily just go quickly and use MCD-CLI to issue some debt on the MCD system, right? So now I'm going to continue with the process of actually paying back Dai and getting back your collateral. So of course, again, it's very simple. First, we just need to allow our Dai token contract to basically get our tokens and put it into the VAT. So we use it by this command. I join.
And this is just a token allowance, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because yeah, the Dai token is basically linked to all the MCD contracts, right? So when we give allowance behind the scenes, there everybody knows. Okay, we can start moving things. Okay, I just put 1. I need to do 1 more time. Yeah, you see now we have 1 Dai locked in VAT, and then next will be 2.
Wait, so this is an allowance, but you had to put in the amount of tokens, and then you have to do it twice. I'm confused by what just happened.
Sorry, this was my mistake. So here, the example just tells you that to join, to give 1 Dai back, right? But
Okay,
you could do 2 Dai out of the system, right? So I'm doing it again.
got it.
So yeah, let's see how Kova network goes. Yeah, so paying back your Dai, again, we just use this command MCD Dai join, and then the amount of Dai that we want to pay back, right? Of course, you can pay back all at once, or you pay it separately. So in this case, let's do it 2 times. There we go.
So I had thought that MCD die join one was like the unlock, the actual command that lets you like use die with the contract. So I was wrong about that, right? This is just to actually add die back to the earn.
Well, in essence, you allow Dai contract to do that because you don't directly talk with a VAT, right? You talk through some proxy contracts.
Right.
Which
Okay.
talk to the collateral one module, where in this case you talk with the Dai contract module that basically, okay, you give it allowance to withdraw this amount of Dai out of you, and then it's put back right away into the VAT, right?
Got it. Okay. So when in like single collateral die in the portal, when you hit like those little unlock
Yeah,
buttons for the first time, that's like creating all of the unlock commands across all the contracts for your particular address that owns
yeah,
and interacts with the system, right?
yeah,
That's
correct,
why it's just one button as opposed to like doing it on each contract individually.
correct.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, that's why we use this proxy contract to just as much as possible simplify all the function calls into one function call, right?
Right.
And
Right.
simplify the user experience. So yeah, now we have our DAI locked back into the system. And now we need to call the probe function again, but with some minus values, right? With some dashes in front of
So
the
this
value.
is you paying back die, or this is you withdrawing 60. What exactly is
So
frog?
in this case, again, we use MCD ilk colon way. We define the type of ilk, which is
Yeah.
our collateral
Collateral one.
token, right? And then the probe function again. But in this case, we add these 2 dashes that basically tells us, okay, now we're paying back, right?
Mhm.
And here you have an option where you, let's say, I want to just pay back my DAI tokens
Mhm.
and still not withdraw still not unlock my collateral,
Mhm.
or I can do that all in one step again, right? So up to you.
That's
So in
interesting
this,
how that works. So you could hit -60 and then -1, and because of the, I guess, the syntax of or the format, the command knows that you're talking about the collateral first and then the die
yeah, of
second.
course, like the first parameter is the collateral type, and the second
Yeah,
parameter is the
the die.
the
Yeah,
delay, right?
right.
So in our case, let's do it all in once because it's faster and costs less gas if you do it separately. So let's do 2 die. So I guess it's understandable why it's minus, right? In the end, because you've put it in these values before, but now you actually um, pay back, right?
Mhm.
You pay back, so it's minus, and then this 2 dashes basically represents that. So yeah, oops, what does it tell here? It's from space, I guess, or something. We just use the
Dun
command
dun
of
dun.
okay, into the yield go one dash a. Here you go.
I think in the developer guide, it's instead of those first two dashes, it's like a dash and a
Oh yeah,
hyphen
right.
or something.
Oh
Yes,
yeah, I
there's
see.
a little typo there.
Yeah, with this one, look at that.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, gotta fix it. Thank you.
Nice. Okay, so dun dun dun. So now the ink is 0, which is the locked collateral. The art is 0. No more debt. Outstanding debt is 0, which is the tab.
Good. Yeah.
The stability fee is 0. So in the Kovan deployment of MCD, what is the stability fee set to? Is there a stability fee? Do you have to be cognizant of like having the KMKR in order to actually close the CDP?
I don't know actually for that on that regard. I think we're still working on using the stability fees in the MCD system.
Got it.
We're developing on that still.
Got it. Got it.
So yeah, now that we have our locked collateral in the VAT, we can just take it out now. So again, we use the exit function. So ilk, the type of collateral, gem, and then exit, and then the value amount of our tokens, right? Again, those dashes. Yeah, we gotta fix that.
So let me ask a question because I'm trying to understand something. So if the collateral is not in the earn under like the ink balance, right?
Yeah.
It's not in the locked collateral balance, but it's in the VAT. What does that mean? Does that like I'm trying to understand it visually and comparing it to single collateral DAI? Does that mean that the collateral is it's not in the CDP, right? It's
It's in
just
the adapter. So think of the VAT as the adapter,
okay. All right, that makes
right?
sense.
Adapter of making it ready for you to lock, unlock collateral and mint, burn.
So like in practice, like in the sort of the finished product, you're gonna basically skip that step. That step is abstracted
True.
away. Yeah. Okay.
Completely. Yes.
Got it. Got it.
This is again for developers who want to understand the system, and we have these parameters printed out for you to
Yeah,
explain
this is great
what's
for
going on.
seeing that like granular step by step process. Yeah, this is interesting.
Correct.
Okay, cool.
You know, because yeah, for an end user, they don't care about VAT, tab, ink, art. They just want their DAI, and they want to make sure that their collateral is locked and everything works, right?
Right.
So
But but for the collateral to be able to be used in the system, it has to go through the adapter because the adapter ultimately is what keeps the
yeah,
balance of the entire system,
uh,
sort of, right?
yeah, balance of your token, right?
Of your tokens, yeah.
Your tokens, right? So I mean, there's a reason why we the guys they built it this way. It's mostly to make it as secure as possible, right? So you never interact with the MCD system directly. You always interact with the MCD system through some adapters, through some
Nice.
proxy contracts, right? Some helper contracts that basically get your assets and make it ready for them to be actually deposited into earns, right? That actually meant to die and so on, right?
Right.
So some extra steps internally to completely simplify and make things secure.
Nice. Cool. All right.
So yeah,
So what's
MCD.
left?
So I guess this is it. I mean, we have just got our collateral back. I have 99 again tokens, and DAI is paid. And yeah, this is the end of the guide as well. So basically, it's a very easy follow along step by step guide to lock and unlock some collateral with MCD-CLI, right?
Nice. This is really, really cool.
So I guess it's a very simple introduction. I have a feeling that many people get stuck, I guess, in setting up Seth and MCD, especially on a Windows subsystem.
we have a guide for how to interact with Seth, I believe. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, we do, correct. But especially for Windows users, I don't know how many are Windows users here, guys.
I'm a Windows user.
You're a Windows user, so
PC
actually,
for life.
PC for life.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'm gonna post the I'm gonna see if I could find the developer uh guide for the for playing with Seth and setting
Yeah, I
stuff
have
up.
another guide that actually explains you what you need to do in order to use DAP Hub, Seth, and MCDCLI on Windows subsystem Linux. Because there's
Nice.
some minor steps that you need to take in order to actually install the tools, right?
Yes. Post it in chat if you can, or send it
Yeah.
my way, and I'll add it to the links in the agenda.
So it's
So,
actually
guys, if anybody has any questions for Petru, feel free to ask. Uh, I hope it kind of went without saying before that you guys were free to ask questions during the demo. I probably should have mentioned that earlier, but you know, feel free to ask any questions right now. And also, if you guys want to see any other developer guides or things related to multi-collateral AI and the testnet and interacting with it as a developer, or even just as a somebody who's interested in getting in there, just being curious, feel free to let us know. So I do have a question for you, Petra. How far along is the Kovan deployment of like the governance side of MCD on Kovan?
I think it's close to be finished. So
Nice. So
probably the Gurley deployment will have governance integrated in it. I mean, we already
right
have
now
it.
the Kovan doesn't have it.
We already have, of course, because I mean, the way MCD works, you need governance voting to allow, okay, prices for different tokens, oracles, right?
Right. Right.
Setting ceilings for different tokens as well, right? So that is already working, but it's not completed yet because governance has more parameters than just setting prices, right?
Yes.
Um, we need to work on the emergency shutdown and to see how the system works on that, right? So we're building and testing in our environments to make sure that everything works out before the launch, before
Right.
the
Makes sense.
main
Makes sense.
release.
So would it be accurate to say that the analogy is kind of like all the car parts are already made at the factory, and right now you guys are just kind of putting some parts together and seeing if they work together, and then adding more
Exactly.
parts, and eventually, as time goes on, we're gonna see more and more of the final car that's gonna be
That's a
produced.
good analogy. Yeah, we're putting pieces together and testing it on the racetrack.
Yeah, nice, nice, very cool, very cool. All right, thank you, Petru. I appreciate
Good.
you coming on the call, and this is going to be an awesome resource. I'm actually really excited to publish this video after the call.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for inviting. And we're
Yeah,
here to help.
nice. All right, cool. So the next part of the call, 50 minutes in, is to go over this week in Maker. And obviously, feel free to stop me or anything, but I'm gonna kind of blow through the events that are going on. So all of our United States events are over. New York City Blockchain Week was a great success. We had a lot of fun. We met a lot of people, and it was generally just a super positive week. And it really opened up a lot of people's eyes to what's going on in the blockchain space all around us. And we have come quite far in a year. So that was fun. In Europe, we have the Malta Blockchain Summit. That's going to be on the 23rd. Lenka's going to be there. Uh, on the 28th, there's going to be FinTech Tuesday in Copenhagen. Lenka will also be there, I think. Uh, in South America, on the 21st, we have LA Connection, which is in Colombia, and our beloved Mariano is going to be there. Uh, in Korea, on the 27th, we have ETHCon Korea 2019. Our awesome Korean community manager, Du, is going to be there. And then for other countries, we have on the 23rd in Singapore, Women in Blockchain, MakerDAO Consensus, and Origin Protocol. There's going to be an event there. Jocelyn is going to be there. Solenka just mentioned that she's happy to hop on. I'm gonna kind of run through these really quickly because we only have about 10 minutes in the call. If you have anything notable about any of these events, feel free to hop on. Uh, but the last event that I didn't mention is on the 24th in Bangkok. We have something called the Surge BKK, which is an event held by UNICEF and Omise, and our very own Jocelyn is going to be over there representing us. Uh, let me just quickly check. So those three events that you mentioned in the chat, I'm gonna just go over them next week because they're a couple weeks out. So we'll be able to go over them next week. But we have events basically in Amsterdam. I think all three of them are in Amsterdam. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So let me just kind of catch up on the chat for a sec. So Daniel Ungun How, I hope I pronounced your last name right, mentioned that they won the Gitcoin hackathon in New York for a stablecoin loans prototype. Ooh, that's awesome, man. I'm actually gonna copy this link and put it in the agenda for just in the notes in case anybody wants to check it out. Also, a note about the agenda. I've started just keeping the old agendas and moving them down in the document. So if anybody wants an old link or something for something I mentioned in a previous community call, you guys could go on that link. The link's not going to change. It's the same agenda link every week. So you guys could basically have access to all the stuff that I talked about and all of the events too. I link all of the website and agenda links to those events right there in the agenda, just for you guys. So moving forward, some stuff this week. We introduced the ETH to Dai instant, which is similar to like what Oasis Direct was, but only for ETH to Dai. And so you could check that out on ethtodai.com/instant. And it's meant to be just a super point and click ability to transfer your ETH to Dai and your Dai to ETH. Yeah. And then I'm gonna go through, I guess, governance actually first before I talk about stuff that's going on in the community besides governance. But our Thursday meetings have been going on as usual. Feel free to join those. They're every Thursday at the same time that this community call is, so 12 p.m. Eastern and everything. So a couple of things that happened this week. So last week there was a governance poll that passed, asking for community basically signaling that they wanted a 2% decrease in the stability fee, which was prompted by the ETH pump and the Dai price. The average Dai price for like 4 or 5 days was somewhere around $1.01. And so there was a vote. Everybody kind of wanted to decrease it. But in the executive vote that came out on Friday, there was not enough MKR to actually get it passed. And even now, if you look at that executive vote, which is still up, the majority of the MKR has been withdrawn in order to participate in the governance poll. So the governance poll is actually repolling MKR voters to see what their thoughts are now. And actually now the Dai price came back down. The average, the I'm going to mention this, but the VWAP price, the volume weighted average price of Dai for like the last 24 hours, has been slowly coming down as the kind of the market conditions normalize and everything's kind of reaching that like homeostasis. So there's kind of indecision from MKR holders on what to do. I think the non-passing of the executive vote is just a signal that maker holders are waiting and seeing what's going to happen. So yeah. So again, new governance poll came up yesterday, and it's going to run through until Thursday. I think it ends at 11:59 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it's going to be running for the next couple days. If you're a Maker token holder, go on and vote. I don't know what the current results of that poll are, so I'm not going to cover it. In other news, there's also the weekly summary of the call. So after the call, usually like 5 or 6 hours after the Thursday governance and risk call, a summary is put up, and those summaries have timestamps to like various sections inside of the video itself, so you guys could skip around and see what interests you most. And that is posted on Reddit, on the r/MakerGov Reddit. So check that out. And yeah, all right. I think I covered everything in governance. And let me quickly check out the chat. Is there anywhere people can see vote distribution of governance polls in real time? So for the governance polls, yeah, you can. For the executive votes, I think it's blind, so you can't actually see the address distribution in the front end. I'm sure in the back end you could, if you're technically savvy, you could pretty easily figure it out, as many have, and as we actually have, even post vote, we were trying to post the distribution every vote, and I think if I'm not mistaken, in the behind the scenes, we're trying to figure out a way to streamline that process to make it a lot easier, so we can reduce that overhead on us and basically post a breakdown of the vote for the executive votes pretty much every time.
David, we can also see the voting distribution for executive polls on vote.makerdao.com.
Really? Oh, for some reason I thought that didn't exist, because I remember I remember looking at the executive votes and not being able to see the breakdown.
Like if you go to vote.makerdao.com, we right now have 1,270 MKR in support for lowering the stability fee in the executive vote.
Oh yeah, but you like when you hit that little button on read more, for the executive vote in the details section on the right. Here, let me actually share. I'll show you precisely what I mean. In the details section on the right, it doesn't show the same breakdown as the polling. So if you guys could see my screen now, this is the executive vote. So here you just see the source contract and everything. But for the polling, if you do the same thing, let's go to the biggest one, right? You actually get the top supporters list. That's what I was talking about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I think that you could very easily figure out who voted for what proposal in real time. Just it's not available in the front ends for the executive votes. And I thought that was deliberate, but I'm not sure. But either way, oops. Anyway, yeah, cool. So, yeah. Let's see what else there is. All right, so some community highlights. Ching was mentioned. Well, Ching actually wrote up a blog post to talk about their couple events that they sponsored. So Ching is actually one of our grantees, and they're doing awesome stuff. They're kind of like a burner wallet and a POS system in one. And so they did some events in Memphis, basically testing it out and showing people how to use DeFi products, even besides their own POS system that they developed. And it's super easy to create a pop-up economy. So definitely check them out. Ching is awesome. That's about the most that I'll ever show anything. But yeah, Ching is cool, and the guy who developed it. Man, he's gonna hate me for blanking out on his name. I only know his Rocket Chat name right now. Web3 developer. I think his name is. I'm sorry if you're watching this, but either way, good project. There's a couple of developer creations this week. There was a Reddit thread for an iOS app that tracks CDPs, and the way that the guy does it, he actually pulls the info from mkr.tools. And it's pretty cool app. It's very early days, so check it out. Give him some feedback if you have the time and the interest. There was also a new tracker, a new pretty visual tracker that Vishesh put out. It was the overall volume weighted average price for Dai for the last 24 hours, and it's a really nice sort of bar chart that sections off the volume, the price over the last 24 hours. So you actually see how much was traded in each sort of bucket of transactions. And it's a really nice representation of Dai price, if you ask me. So check that out. A bunch of articles. I'm not going to go over them too deeply. Humanity DAO is using Dai. There's a couple of DeFi series. Petru, thank you for coming. We appreciate you doing the demo for us, man. Oh, and I just realized it's 1 o'clock. So anybody who needs to leave, feel free to. I'm just gonna really quickly finish up the couple of things that I have on my list. So there was a couple articles. They're there in the agenda. I'm not gonna cover them too deeply right now. There's also a great thread, which is in the agenda. I'm not gonna mention it. There was a cool video of Greg DePrisco's presentation at the Fluidity Summit earlier this week. He talks about beyond banks and a bit about the actual how security tokens would work and how recourse would work with security tokens and like off-chain auctions and all that kind of stuff. So it was a really cool introductory talk to that if you're interested in kind of what off-chain assets interacting with MakerDAO on-chain looks like. So yeah, check that out. I believe that's it. Yeah. Cool. Only 2 minutes late. Thank you guys for coming. Sorry that the run through was super rushed in the last 10 minutes of the call, but that demo was freaking awesome, and I think it's exactly what I needed because I tried playing with multi-collateral Dai on Kovan and I failed. But now I think I could succeed. Anyway, thank you guys for coming. I'll see you guys next Tuesday. As usual, it's a great pleasure. And as usual, feel free to ask questions. Feel free to even ping me before the call. I'm always around for you guys. And so thank you. Take care, everybody.